Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, women don't notice you? Or worse, the ones you want are always just out of reach? That frustration, that quiet sting in your chest. It's not your fault. You've been taught the wrong things about what makes a man attractive, desirable, or successful in dating. And today, I'm going to reveal the psychology behind the real skills that single men need to thrive. But no one tells you this. Here's the hard truth. Being single isn't a deficit, it's a power position. The problem is, most men waste this time, drifting, overthinking, scrolling endlessly, and assuming attraction is about looks, money, or status. Psychology shows something different. The most magnetic men are skilled in areas that aren't flashy but incredibly effective. And the first skill isn't something you can buy. It's emotional intelligence. Yes, the ability to understand yourself and others on a deep, unspoken level. Women, whether consciously or unconsciously, are drawn to men who can regulate their emotions, stay calm under pressure, and understand what's happening beneath the surface. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being aware, about knowing why you feel jealous, insecure, or impatient, and not letting it control your behavior. Emotional intelligence also means reading energy, not reading texts, emojis, or social media likes, but reading intentions, moods, and subtle psychological cues. Most men miss this completely and wonder why their efforts fail. The truth is simple. Women respond to energy more than words, more than gestures, more than status. Emotional awareness allows you to match or redirect that energy. It's a skill that instantly sets you apart from the average guy. But here's the kicker. Emotional intelligence alone isn't enough. Being aware without action is like holding a powerful tool and never using it. You must combine emotional awareness with confidence in your decisions, clarity in your boundaries, and a subtle command of presence. When you cultivate these together, you stop reacting out of fear or desire, and you start acting from choice and power. This is the foundation. If you master this, you're no longer another single guy. You're someone who naturally attracts, commands respect, and operates from a position of control that most men never achieve. The second skill most single men overlook is social intelligence. And I'm not talking about knowing small talk or having a funny personality. I'm talking about understanding human dynamics, the invisible rules of how people respond, how women perceive safety, attraction, and respect, and how influence flows in social spaces. Psychology shows that men who master this skill create a magnetic presence almost effortlessly. Think about it. Why do some men get noticed instantly in a group while others fade into the background? It's not luck. It's understanding the subtle signals everyone is giving and knowing how to respond in ways that create trust, intrigue, and connection. It's reading tone, posture, eye contact, and even micro-expressions. These cues tell you what someone is feeling before they even say a word. A man who can tune into this without overanalyzing becomes magnetic because he reacts with precision and calm, never desperation. Social intelligence also requires awareness of your own presence. Every man carries energy, confident, anxious, nervous, or dominant, and people respond to it instantly. Most men don't realize that the energy they give off can attract or repel. The skill is learning how to calibrate your energy, how to project warmth without neediness, authority without arrogance, and curiosity without intrusion. This is subtle, but it changes everything. Women sense this energy immediately and respond accordingly. Here's the psychological twist. Single men who fail often try too hard. They interrupt, explain, or perform, thinking it will impress. But social intelligence teaches restraint. It teaches timing. It teaches influence through presence, not pressure. It allows you to be intriguing instead of predictable, desired instead of chasing, respected instead of tolerated. And here's what most men never see. Social intelligence compounds. Every interaction you handle with skill, calm, and clarity reinforces your confidence, expands your comfort zone, and strengthens your magnetism. You stop fearing rejection because you understand human behavior and your own ability to navigate it. You stop overthinking because you know the rules of engagement, and you start creating outcomes instead of hoping for them. Combine this with emotional intelligence, and you're no longer just a man trying to meet someone. You're a man who naturally draws attention, creates attraction, and inspires respect, all without trying, forcing, or performing. The third skill every single man needs, and almost no one talks about, is self-mastery. And I'm not talking about working out, dressing well, or memorizing pickup lines. I'm talking about mastering your mind, your habits, and your emotional responses so that your life runs on purpose instead of impulse. Psychology shows that women, and really everyone, are naturally drawn to men who operate with discipline and intentionality. Think about it. The men who seem effortlessly in control, calm under pressure, and consistently moving toward their goals. They're magnetic because they've mastered themselves. Their confidence doesn't come from luck, looks, or charm. It comes from knowing they can handle life's challenges, make decisions without fear, and stay grounded even when everything around them is chaotic. That's the kind of energy that pulls people in, because it signals stability, competence, and reliability. Self-mastery also means controlling your impulses. Most single men overreact to texts, overanalyze interactions, and chase validation from women who may not even be invested. A man with self-mastery doesn't react. He responds, he waits, he decides. And this patience, this control, creates tension, intrigue, and respect, all of which are key psychological triggers of attraction. But here's the thing. Self-mastery isn't built overnight. It's cultivated through consistent action. Saying no when you want to say yes, showing up even when you don't feel like it, keeping commitments to yourself before anyone else, and setting boundaries without guilt, all of this compounds into unshakable confidence. And unshakable confidence is magnetic. There's also a hidden aspect to this skill: emotional independence. The man who masters himself isn't dependent on a woman's attention or approval to feel whole. He doesn't panic when someone pulls away. He doesn't chase to fill a void. Instead, he thrives in his own life, and that thriving energy naturally draws women toward him. Combine emotional intelligence, social intelligence, and self-mastery, and you begin to operate on a completely different level than the average single man. You stop being reactive, you stop being desperate, you start being magnetic. And the truth is, these skills aren't flashy, they're not obvious, but they're the real reason some men attract effortlessly while others struggle endlessly. The fourth skill single men must master is communication with impact. And I don't mean memorizing lines or pretending to be charming. I mean understanding the psychology of how words, tone, and presence affect others, and using that understanding to create connection, intrigue, and trust. Most men underestimate this skill because they confuse talking a lot with communicating effectively. They confuse being loud with being heard. Psychology shows that women, and people in general, respond far more to how something is said than to what is said. A man who speaks slowly, clearly, and deliberately signals confidence and self-assuredness. A man who pauses before responding, who doesn't feel the need to fill every silence, communicates control and presence. Conversely, a man who rushes, over-explains, or babbles reveals insecurity and neediness. But communication with impact isn't just about style, it's about substance. A magnetic man knows his values, knows his boundaries, and can articulate them without arrogance or defensiveness. He doesn't apologize for his needs. He doesn't explain himself unnecessarily. He communicates clearly, directly, and confidently, and that clarity signals psychological strength. Another hidden aspect of this skill is listening. Truly magnetic men listen actively, but not passively. They respond in ways that make others feel understood, valued, and safe. Women instinctively pick up on this. They feel your presence in the conversation without needing validation or attention. Listening becomes a weapon of influence because it shifts the dynamic from chasing to leading. Timing is also part of communication mastery. Knowing when to speak, when to stay silent, when to escalate tension subtly, and when to hold back creates a psychological pull that is incredibly attractive. It's the difference between a man who says everything and leaves nothing to wonder about, and a man who creates curiosity, interest, and subtle desire just by controlling the rhythm of interaction. When you combine emotional intelligence, social intelligence, self-mastery, and impactful communication, you begin to operate on a completely different level. You're no longer a man hoping to be noticed. You're a man who naturally draws attention, commands respect, and generates attraction without needing to try. There's also a hidden aspect to this skill: emotional independence. The man who masters himself isn't dependent on a woman's attention or approval to feel whole. He doesn't panic when someone pulls away. He doesn't chase to fill a void. Instead, he thrives in his own life, and that thriving energy naturally draws women toward him. Combine emotional intelligence, social intelligence, and self-mastery, and you begin to operate on a completely different level than the average single man. You stop being reactive, you stop being desperate, you start being magnetic. And the truth is, these skills aren't flashy, they're not obvious, but they're the real reason some men attract effortlessly, while others struggle endlessly. The fifth skill single men need, and this one is rarely discussed, is purposeful living. Most men spend their single years reacting to life instead of creating it. They drift between jobs, distractions, and shallow connections, hoping something will stick. Psychology shows that women, and people in general, are subconsciously drawn to men who have direction, focus, and a sense of mission. Purpose isn't about wealth or status, it's about energy, clarity, and consistency. Think about the men who capture attention effortlessly. They aren't just good-looking or funny, they're engaged with life. They pursue goals, hobbies, and passions with intensity and consistency. That engagement radiates energy. It says, I'm alive, I'm growing, I'm worth noticing. A man without purpose, by contrast, gives off an energy of scarcity, boredom, and uncertainty. That energy is invisible, but it's noticed, and it repels attraction. Purposeful living also strengthens psychological resilience. When you have a mission or set of goals bigger than your dating life, rejection no longer feels devastating. A woman pulling away doesn't shake your world because your life isn't dependent on her approval. Your confidence becomes unshakable, your energy magnetic, and your presence compelling. Here's the hidden psychology. People are drawn to energy that moves forward. When you're focused, passionate, and committed to your growth, it creates a subtle gravitational pull. Women notice it on a subconscious level before they even meet you. They feel it in your posture, your tone, your choices, and the way you navigate life. That pull is the backbone of attraction. Purpose also gives structure to the other skills you've been building. Emotional intelligence, social intelligence, self-mastery, and communication all become sharper when directed towards something meaningful. A man with purpose is decisive, clear, and aligned. He doesn't waste energy reacting to every minor shift in attention or validation because his life already provides abundance. Magnetism isn't about tricks, manipulation, or luck. It's about becoming a man whose life is worth noticing, fully engaged, self-contained, and moving towards something bigger than momentary desires. Purpose transforms you from someone who hopes to attract into someone who naturally pulls people, respect, and opportunities into his orbit. The sixth and final skill that transforms single men into magnetic men is strategic self-presentation. And no, this isn't about vanity, fake confidence, or showing off what you have. It's about understanding the psychological signals you send through your energy, actions, and choices, and consciously shaping them to reflect the man you are becoming. Every interaction, every gesture, every word communicates something, whether you want it to or not. Women, and people in general, are constantly reading these signals at a subconscious level. Are you calm or anxious, confident or insecure, present or distracted? A man who understands this doesn't overcompensate with effort, money, or words. He aligns his external behavior with his internal state, and that alignment is instantly magnetic. Strategic self-presentation also means curating your lifestyle, habits, and appearance so that they reflect your values and purpose. This isn't about showing off. It's about demonstrating competence, discipline, and respect for yourself. When a man invests in himself, physically, mentally, and emotionally, it creates an invisible aura of power and stability that women notice intuitively. But here's the key psychological insight. The most magnetic men are subtle. They don't scream for attention. They create curiosity. They reveal just enough of themselves to intrigue, without oversharing or over-explaining. They let tension, mystery, and calm confidence do the work for them. This is where all the other skills, emotional intelligence, social intelligence, self-mastery, communication, and purpose, intersect to create an irresistible presence. Strategic self-presentation also requires consistency. A single moment of reactive behavior, neediness, or overexposure can undo months of growth. But when a man consistently projects calm, alignment, and grounded energy, it compounds into a powerful psychological pull. People notice, women are drawn, opportunities emerge effortlessly. Now, if you combine all 6 skills, the emotional awareness to understand yourself, social intelligence to read others, self-mastery to control your impulses, communication that commands respect, purposeful living that radiates energy, and strategic self-presentation that signals alignment, you don't just improve your dating life. You transform your entire presence, influence, and ability to attract the right people into your orbit. Here's your challenge. Identify the one skill you've been neglecting the most and commit to mastering it this week. Drop your answer in the comments below. And if this video opened your eyes, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this today.